So the question I get asked the most, probably the most this year, is why are comic prices so high and what's going on? I'm going to try to explain that to you with some honest answers and maybe some predictions for the future. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. So what's going on with the comic industry? Obviously, books are crazy high prices. We've never seen anything like it. So it started with the pandemic. These books weren't moving like this before the pandemic. What happened was everything shut down. The pandemic happened, everything shut down, and people weren't going out. People weren't going to the movies. They weren't going out to eat. They weren't, stopping by the store, making those impulse buys, and they're just sitting at home. And so, they had more money. People just had more money. And they started looking for new hobbies. They were getting bored. People at home were bored. I bought a bicycle. I hadn't rode bikes in years. Bought a bicycle. I was riding around. So a lot of people started reading again, started getting into comic books, and that's what got the ball rolling, I think, is just boredom, really. And then, we had the government infused cash. So, there's no arguing about it. No politics involved here. The government infused a lot of money into society, and a lot of people had a lot of money, and a lot of people that needed it got it, and a lot of people that didn't need it had it. And, from stimulus checks to the unemployment to PPPs for businesses. So some people, didn't really need $1,400 checks. So they got it, and, they were like, what? I really think, I've been wanting that comic book for a while. It was like $1,000. I think I'm going to get online and snag it. So, that started to happen. So people started to buy things. They started to buy more online. And, it started, that's really the first domino that fell, was people started spending more money online, getting on eBay and buying these things. So I don't see many people mention this at all. I think this is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest factors of what happened, is the lack of Comic Cons. There was next to no Comic Cons last year. In 2020, there was hardly any. After the pandemic started, they stopped. And, you don't think anything about that. You're like, who cares? There's no Comic Cons. No, this is a huge deal, because look, let's face it. If you want a Hulk 181, you're going to go, where are you going to go? You're going to go to your local comic book shop. Look, your local comic shop isn't going to have blue chip keys hanging on the back of the shelf. And even if they did, they're not going to last long, and they're probably not going to be super high grades. If you want those books, you have to go online or go to Comic Cons. And at this day and age, there's Comic Cons everywhere. Everybody's doing Comic Cons. Like, a kid in his mom's basement is doing a Comic Con now. So it doesn't matter where you live. There's probably a Comic Con within 3 hours of you every month. Hell, there's probably 3 Comic Cons every month that you could go to. And those blue chip keys are at those Comic Cons. Like, almost every one of them has those blue chip keys that you can find. And a lot of those guys would give you deals on them when you got there, especially the end of the week. They're like, oh, I got to pay bills. I didn't. So, you might get 10% off, 15% off, skirting the eBay fees or whatever, selling at cons. So, those books were readily available. So, that was a huge factor. So now the dominoes are really starting to fall. So once the Comic Cons were gone, the only places left to buy these books were Facebook Marketplace, Instagram groups. You have Heritage Auction and Comic Link, both reputable places, but, a lot of people don't use them. So it's mainly eBay. Let's be honest, folks. If you want something, people were going to eBay. If you want that book, you're going to eBay. That's one place to buy comic books. One. So everybody's going there. Everybody that wants a book, everybody that wants Hulk 181 is going to eBay. There's only so many Hulk 181s out there I'm sorry, I'm just using that book as an example. It could be anything. It could be a GSX-1. It's just, we're using that as an example right now. So everybody's flooding to eBay to buy that book. So they're all getting on there. So the prices are starting to go crazy. Like they're starting to go crazy. Now, we'll say it's like, September, end of September, beginning of October. That's really when it started going nuts. So then you get these new investors. You get these sports card collectors that are looking at this and they're like, man, that book right there, that Star Wars Clone Wars, that book was only like $400 on a 9.8 last year. And now it's $1,000. Now it's $2,000. I need to check out this market. So now you got these guys coming in the market. And if you don't know sports cards collectors, these guys are all about high grades. That's all they want. They want that PSA 10. They want that PSA 9. So they're buying that 9.8. They don't even want a 9.6. They want that 9.8. They'll buy a 9.6, but they want that 9.8. So they get in, and these guys, most of these guys have a lot of money. You're talking about guys that buy boxes of cards for like $1,000 with 4 packs in them or some nonsense like that. I don't know enough about the sports cards industry to talk about that. You have to talk to somebody else about it. But they do spend a lot of money. I know guys in the industry, and they spend a lot of money. So dropping a few $1,000s on a book is nothing to them. So dropping tens of $1,000s on a book for a lot of them are nothing. So they come in. Now they're driving the market up. So now what happens is the other guys, the littler guys that don't have that kind of money, they're looking at the lower grade books. They're looking at, the 8.0s, I got this extra money. I was gonna buy an 8.0, a Hulk 181 but that's too expensive now. So I'll buy a 7.0. So they buy the 7.0. So the next guy that puts up a 7.0, he puts it up for double that price, or, at least a 50% increase. So the next guy's like, oh man, I can't buy that, so he buys a 6.0 and on and so forth and so on. So now the low grades are bringing all this kind of money. So, people are buying 4.0s and 3.0s for thousands of dollars, which is unheard of. Nobody's seen this before, but that's what happened. So now, believe it or not, seriously, I know this for a fact, the Wall Street guys got involved. So now you got the wealthiest 1% in the United States, in the world. These Wall Street investors are looking at comic books. No joke. They're looking at comic books because these prices are going crazy. So they're like, this is nuts. This is way better than stocks. I need to start buying comics. So now these guys get involved. And of course, they want the high grades. They want the 9.6s and 9.8s. So they're snagging them too. Remember, still only one place to buy them, eBay. So now the guys, the LCS guys, the collectors, the flippers, the speculators, they're sending books like crazy to CGC. They're just like sending them off. They're picking up all the raw copies they can. Any stores that are open back up, they're running around trying to find stuff. They're picking them up, sending them off. So CGC is flooded with books, so they can't get it. The wait times keep going up and going up. So these books aren't getting back, they're not getting back fast so people can flip them on eBay. So it's getting really hard to pick up these books now. So like I said, the lower grades are going up and up and up. And it's just crazy. And then, you got the cinematic universe. And people are watching it, and the average person's watching most, let's face it, most of the people that watch the MCU movies, the DCU movies, anything, the indie stuff, most of them don't read comic books. It's just how it is, So, but now they're watching them and they're like, man, I'm really digging this Scarlet Witch. Maybe I should go on and check out what an X-Men #4 is going for. A lot of these people got money. They're sitting at home watching them. They're like, maybe this is a good investment. They're looking at what's going on too. So they're picking them up. Speculators are picking them up. Low grades are going up. High grades are going up. So then you got the YouTubers. I'm on YouTube. I'm talking to you about it right now. Everybody's on YouTube. Everybody's talking about comics. Everybody's like, look at this. You got top 10s. You got this guy. You got speculators. You can search right now and there'll be thousands of guys talking about which comic books are hot. Just this week you could find, 1,000 videos, people talking about it. So people are watching these videos. These guys are like, oh man, I got to get that nice house on the lake. It's awesome. So you got, these brand new books, $100, $15, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you got the variants and all that stuff. So really, it wasn't just one thing. It was a catalyst. It was a domino effect. The pandemic started. The first domino fell with the pandemic. That's what I believe happened. I really think it's true. And everything else just happened. And now we are where we are. And these comics are bringing a lot of money. And there's a lot of people in the comic industry that weren't before buying new comics too, going into your LCSs and buying brand new comics. These comics are selling better. New comics are selling better than they have in years. And people are checking them out, which is great. People are reading them too. They're not just specking on them. They're reading them and they're enjoying them, which is great. It's great for the hobby. So that brings us to whether it's a bubble or not. Look, by the strictest definition, yes. I mean, you can't call it anything else. It was a rapid escalation of the market value prices in comic books. I mean, that's the definition of a bubble. Yes, it's a bubble. Okay. Yeah, we can say it. It's safe to say it. We're in a comic book bubble. Oh my God, it's a comic book bubble. No. It's fine. It's fine. Trust me. Do I think the bubble is going to burst? No, I don't think it's going to burst. Do I think all this stuff? No. You got to remember, there's a few things. All right. First off, a lot of these books, especially the blue chip books, the golden and silver age stuff, these books needed a price adjustment. They were way too cheap to begin with. The fact that you could pick up a GSX #1 a year and a half ago in a 9.8 for like, I don't know, I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000 is ridiculous. That is ridiculous cheap for that book. So the fact that it's going for $50,000 to $80,000 now, no, that's fine. That book should be that much money. And I'm not saying that because I own one. And I don't have a 9.8. I have a 9.6, but I'm saying it because it's true. And then I think the people that disagree with it are just salty because they didn't get in before. They don't own those books now. Am I salty about books I don't have? Yes, I'm mad I don't have a lot of books that I'm not a billionaire. I can't buy every single book. There's books that I can't believe that I got rid of or that I didn't buy before this happened, and now they're really expensive. And I'm like, man, I wished it picked. But I think that's when you hear people complain and they talk about, it's a bubble, it's going to burst, the whole industry is going to burst, you're going to lose all this money. Look, comics have always been a solid investment, and they're going to continue to be a solid investment. What I do think you'll see happen is a stabilization of the values of the comic books and what they're going for. And you may see a slight decrease in the value, especially in the newer books going forward. I think once the Comic Cons start opening back up, the Comic Cons now, they're starting to run them. There's a big one here in California pretty soon. Torpedo, got a lot of people there. It's going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of big books there. But I don't think these guys that are setting up at the Comic Cons, these big dealers, I don't think they're going to be willing to discount those books quite yet. So it's going to take a while, but you're going to see a stabilization. You're going to see those books. You're not gonna see these huge increases every week like you've been seeing. Sure, the spec books are gonna go crazy, and you might see silly stuff, go nuts. You can't. It's hard to predict that stuff. You don't know what shows people are really gonna like, what books. Look at Invincible. I love Invincible. It's a good book. I was telling people in October, I was like, you need to pick, like, if this cartoon is anywhere as good as the comic, you need to be picking up these key issues, because that book. And just for an example, and this is one that I'm salty about. Just for an example, Invincible #1 in a 9.8 in October, you could pick up for like $700. That's the truth. I was looking at them. You could pick it up for $700, and now they might even be hitting 4,000. 4,000 is not even. It's like I don't know, 7 months later, and it's $4,000. It's nuts. It's nuts. But it was a popular show. It was really popular. It could have came out. It could have sucked. If it sucked, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to buy those books. If a show has to do well, and that show did well. WandaVision did very well. X-Men #4 skyrocketed. A lot of those books skyrocketed. The crazy books like the West Coast Avengers. We don't even need to talk about White Vision. That's a silly book to me, but whatever. If you like it, that's cool. I love the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, and that issue 12. I think is worthy of it's the kids. It's their first appearance. A lot of people say it's Young Avengers #1, but I mean that's truly, if you know the story, that's truly their first appearance. I'm getting off subject. I'm sorry. I love comic books. I like to talk. But yeah, I think in the end, my future prediction is that there's always going to be there's always been a demand for high grade books since the beginning, since people started collecting. When I was collecting in the 80s, people paid premiums for high books. Now we have a company that certifies them and grades them as a 9.8. It's in a slab. You can't argue it. You hand it to somebody, it's like, this is a 9.8. That's just how it is. I don't care how you feel about CGC. You might tell me, well, people move to CBCS. Look, it might happen. I like CBCS. I think they do a good job. I think they do a good job of grading. I do like the CGC slabs a little bit better, but that's a video for another time. But they do a great job. I don't think they're a level below CGC. I think they're on the same level, but the market at some point decided that CGC is the way to go. And if you don't believe me, and if you think things are changing, they're not. And I don't think they're going to change anytime soon. You want me to prove it? Go to eBay and search CGC 9.8 and see how many pull up. It's going to be like 83,000. And then search CBCS 9.8 and see how many pull up. It's going to be like 14,000, because CGC brings a premium, and that's just how it is. Now, CGC is going to open up. They're going to open up a new warehouse. They're working on it now. They've hired a lot of people. The turnaround times are crazy right now. I know they're crazy. You can't really blame the guys. The amount of submissions they have right now has got to be absolutely crazy. It's got to be like, I can't even imagine what they're dealing with right now. And they got to train people to do this. You can't just grab some guy off the street and be like, all right, this is an Airman book, so slab it in a 9.8. No, you got to train these guys. You got to show them how to use the blue lights. You got to show them how to use the lights and look at the books. And then you got to, they're building this new warehouse. I think once the cons are back, once CGC has things under control, the stabilization is going to come. But the comic popularity isn't going anywhere. It would take all the new investors to leave all at once. Like they just decide, we don't want to do this anymore. We're all out of here. We're gone. The sports cards collectibles guys sell out. All the Wall Street guys sell out. Then the market starts to move down. So then the collectors get worried and start selling stuff. So then the bubble bursts. Could that happen? Yes. Is it going to happen? No. I've been in the industry a long time. I've been reading since I could read, and I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen. It's just not. Have I been wrong before? Yeah, but not too many times in this industry. I've been wrong. It's not going to happen. So that's it. That's what I think. I appreciate you watching. If you got any questions, please comment. Hit me up. Make a comment, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer. I see 6 Elements on here. I'm sorry, buddy. I hadn't been watching the chat. He says the quality of grading is going down. The strictness of the grading is going up. Can't get a slab back in less than a month or 3 if you get a signature. You're absolutely right, but the CGC times, I was checking them this week, and the times are absolutely insane. I think on value and economy, it's like 4 months now. And you got to remember too that they don't count weekends or holidays. So if they got a 3-month wait time, that's really like a 5-month wait time. So yeah. And yeah, new graders RCs. I'll tell you right now, that's a big one too. Everybody thinks they can grade a book. I'm going to tell you right now, you can't. Most people can't grade a book. Most Comic shop owners don't know how to grade books. Most sellers don't know how to grade books. Probably, I'm going to go ahead and say this and piss people off, but probably you watching the video right now is like, I know how to grade a book. I bet you don't. I bet you don't. I bet you can't tell the difference between a 9.4 and a 9.8. You know, you definitely can't tell the difference between a 7.5 and an 8.0. It's not the easiest thing in the world to grade books. People think it's easy. It's not. Like unless you absolutely know what you're doing, it's not. You know, you can't. And when people are, you know, using these broad terms like near mint and very fine, you know, and fine, it's just too broad. It's not an actual slab book. So, you know, some guys near mint is your very fine. Some guys very fine is your fine. You know, there's a lot of places that'll say that a near mint falls in like a 9.4 to 9.8, and a lot of guys will say a very fine falls in like an 8.5 to a 9.2. You know, I don't know. To me, a near mint, one imperfection in it, then it's not a near mint book. You know, it's all right to have one imperfection. If it's got a foxed on a corner, if it's got a one tick on a spine, you know, that's fine. But if it's got two ticks on a spine, especially color break ones, that's not a near mint book. If it's got a dinged corner, it's not a near mint book. If it's got a folded page, it's not a near mint book. Don't send me that trash. I don't want it. Like, it's not near mint. You know, it's very fine. So, you know, well, I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody watching. Like I said, shoot me some comments. Watch. I'm going to try to put more videos up. I appreciate everybody watching. Just holler at me. Holler at us. Thanks, Comic Fam. I appreciate it. Check out my boy Six Element. Check out my boy Spade. Check out my boy Cook Z. They're all on here. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.